Heyo. So before this video begins, I actually have a disclaimer, which is the fact that despite me living 23 years on this planet, I have only watched one scary slash horror movie. And if you want to know what that movie is, maybe subscribe to the channel because I want to make a video on it pretty soon. But today we're talking about the fact that I think that the first Harry Potter movie is a bit scary. Actually, it's quite scary, I would say, especially for a movie that's aimed towards children. And this idea really popped up in my head because I've been on this nostalgia trip of reliving movies from my childhood and teenage years, and I wanted to actually watch the movie and see if this holds true, because I remember some scenes in this movie that scared me as a kid, and I just watched it, and I'll be honest with you, there are some scary moments in this movie. I think the first obvious one that shows up in the movie that scared me a bit as a kid, and it's quite a bit jarring, I would say, even watching it right now, which is the scene where they show Voldemort, walking up to Harry's house and killing his parents. That's a bit, the beginning of that is a bit eerie and really spooky. Surprisingly, there's a bit of gore also in this. It's not too much, but it's when Sir Nicholas shows off his decapitated head. Again, it's not a lot, but at the same time, he literally grabs his head and he takes it off, and you can see inside his neck. I think that was probably jarring for me when I watched it as a kid. It's fairly obvious. I also think Hagrid's entrance at the Dursley house that they went to in the middle of nowhere is actually quite frightening also. It's Hagrid, he's such a lovable character, but the first time he meets Harry as 11-year-old, it's quite jarring probably for him to have someone rip open the door. And yeah, I get it, all of these are soft examples, but hear me out. Is the library scene in this movie not terrifying? That part, I remember as a kid, always used to scare me, because he opens that book and there's this person trying to come out of it and it's screaming. And I think that scene actually continues on to one other moment in the movie that actually always scares the shit out of me. It's when he, breaks the lantern, he goes past Filch, and then he encounters Snape and Quirrell. I think that scene scares me still, because imagine if Snape actually pulled the cloak in that moment. That is such a terrifying situation to be in, because Quirrell and Snape are definitely talking about some secretive stuff, and imagine if he gets caught in that scenario. It's such a terrifying feeling when Snape actually looks and he hears breathing, right? So Harry covers his face, and then Snape actually tries to grab the cloak. And for me, that scene actually is it's so weirdly scary. I think the music definitely contributes to all of these moments, because as I was rewatching the movie right now, I noticed that the sound design and the music in this movie is so good. It has aged so well, because there are these set cues with audio and sound design and everything that really makes everything just more tense and scary. If you're still not convinced, let's talk about the Dark Forest. Holy shit. Honestly, I was rewatching the movie right now, and the Dark Forest still scared me, because the trees, the way the roots kind of go in the ground and everything, it's all so creepy. And let's not forget the fact, why in the hell is Hagrid with a bunch of kids trying to find someone who's been going around slaughtering unicorns? And then he decides to split them. Yeah, Ron, Hermione, come with me. Malfoy and Harry, you go the other way. And oh man, that scene when Malfoy and Harry encounter Voldemort literally biting the neck of a unicorn and drinking its blood is just, if that's not scary, I don't know what is. I watched this movie hundreds of times as a kid, and these moments are deeply embedded into my brain. This shit's terrifying. And it just gets worse and worse from here, because then you actually have them going through the entire, puzzles and obstacles that were put in place to protect people from getting to the Sorcerer's Stone. And I think this part is mildly scary. At the end of the day, they still had a bunch of slimy vines around them that were threatening to suffocate them and kill them. Let's be real about that. That's still a bit crazy for a movie geared towards kids, really. And I think the chess scene also has a lot lot of like tense and scary moments. The one moment being when the queen takes Ron's knight. And when I watched this movie as a kid, that queen piece scared the shit out of me. And when I rewatched it, it still kind of scares me, because it's so menacing. Like, why does it have to be so menacing? Like, everything about this movie and all these moments is just so scary and menacing and tense. It's like, I don't think a movie like this could ever be made nowadays, for kids. Like, there's so many moments in this movie that would genuinely scare any young person watching this. And then we come to what I would say arguably is the scariest moment in this movie. I would say this moment narrowly gets ahead of the library scene, even though I think the library scene is still to this day terrifying. But I have to give this the number one slot because I have very vivid memories of me as a kid literally hiding behind the couch every time the chess scene ended because I knew what was coming next. And this is the moment that Harry encounters Quirrell. And in this scene, Quirrell takes off his turban to reveal Voldemort. I think to this day, that scene evokes fear in my brain because I remember as a kid, that moment scared the shit out of me. Holy shit, there's a person coming out of the back of his skull. And it's talking in a creepy, slithery voice. And I was like, what the hell? This is Harry Potter, man. I wanted to watch a bunch of wizards doing spells, and here I am in this horror show. And it gets pretty scary from there on also, because if you really think about it, this is the only physical fight that quote unquote Voldemort and Harry have had, aside from probably the end of the series when they fight in the Battle of Hogwarts. But in this scene, Quirrell is literally choking Harry, an 11-year-old kid. He's choking him on the staircase, and then Harry touches him, and then he starts turning to dust. And that scene of Quirrell's face just entirely being made of sand, and him reaching for Harry and then him falling apart. Imagine as a kid me watching this. Sure, as an adult I can handle it, obviously. I'm not that scared, obviously. But that entire scene, the way they're talking to each other, and how Voldemort's almost blackmailing him and everything, there's just this scariness to that entire moment. And just the entire movie, it is weird because you would think Chamber of Secrets, the next movie, is the scary movie in the franchise, right? But when I really thought about it, the first movie has a lot of moments that are genuinely scary. And I'm again saying this from the perspective of me watching this as a kid. I watched all of these movies growing up, and to this very day, the first movie has such tense and scary moments that are just done so well. I understand the whole point of this video is to argue that the first movie is scary, but I also want to compliment how well they do it. The Dark Forest scene is still so good. This movie was made in 2001, it's 2024, and that entire scene is so good. They captured the tension and the scariness so well. There's this really cool moment when Hagrid is debriefing the kids on what they have to do, and Harry looks into the distance and you can actually see Quirrell with the robe moving closer. For a split second you see him, and when I saw that, I'm holy shit, because kid me probably never saw that because I was too busy already being scared of the Dark Forest. But when I watched it right now, I saw that, I'm holy shit, this movie is actually unreal with the scariness. I kind of want to rewatch all the other films and then make a video about it at some point, so maybe be on the lookout for that in the near future, because I do be watching a lot of movies from my childhood and teenage years, so might just be around the corner, you never know. But yeah, I guess that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, it's free for you but it's priceless for me. Go check out my music and go drink some coffee.